and my sisters, only they can understand. We'll fight this war together, together we will stand.
Hey everybody, this is Joe. TVO Campfire is aimed at those vets who were successful in their lives, maybe not in their own opinions, but in ours. And that's what we're bringing to you, are vets who are truly successful and how you can learn from them. Hey, good morning, everybody. On this episode of TVO Campfire, I want to introduce Jeffrey Gray. He's from Rowlett, Texas. He's lived there since about 99 time frame. Member of the U.S. Marine Corps from 78 through 89. And while he was in the Marine Corps, he did a little bit of security duty time, U.S. Embassy, Austria, Bulgaria. Then he did a little bit of recruiting out in Missouri. And in between there, he had quite a bit of fun, which we'll get into today. But now on the civilian side of the house, he's volunteered in Collin County as a detention officer. He's worked with TSA. He's done some private security. And how I ran into him in his new profession is an actor. He was on set with I've Got Your Six that I had the privilege to be a part of on there. And in between takes, I really had time to sit down with him, and never had I heard of Jeffrey Gray. More and more time that we started talking and kind of bouncing it off of each other, Rebecca was like, "That's the guy that walks the bridge." And I'm like, "Wait a second, that's the dude on the bridge?" And I've seen him across social media. I've seen the positive stuff that he's done in his community, just never knew that it was Jeffrey Gray sitting here talking with me. So that's what brings him on today to be one of our veterans that we highlight who's been successful in their life. And in my opinion, and in my eyes, he's successful because of what he's done outside of the military, what he's done post-military career. He has made a major impact on his community and what he's done with his walk. He's very notable for walking what's now referred to as the Heroes Memorial Bridge. It's 2 miles across and 2 miles back, and he walks this thing every day carrying an American flag and raising awareness for suicide prevention for not only our military veterans, but our first responders as well. And you can see usually on the 22nd day of each month, they'll actually do an organized walk, and he will have dozens, if not hundreds of people following him. He sets out 22 flags across that bridge there that runs between Rowlett and Rockwall on State Highway 66. And he's doing the flags on the Memorial Day, 4th of July, 9/11, Veterans Day. And I highly recommend you guys go out and make that 4-mile walk with him on those particular days. So without further ado, here's Jeffrey Gray.
Good morning.
Welcome. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. It's an honor.
So, are you from Texas, Jeff? Is that your hometown area there?
Yes, ma'am. Born and raised in Dallas. I'm a true Texan.
So, did you have influence from somebody in the family to go into the military, or what was your childhood like that led up to your decision to go in and enlist?
Well, basically, my family was in either construction, plumbing, or something like that. And after I played football, wasn't good enough to go to college, and I really never thought of college. My uncle was the only one that was in the Navy in the World War II, and he had a lot of influence on my life. But it was mainly I don't know. I just felt that I needed to do something else besides that. I just wanted to do something for better than me, and that's just the way I felt at that time. It's kind of, when you did, it's kind of, and both of you, when you had to make a decision. And I'll never forget, I went to the recruiting office in Greenville, Texas, and I hadn't made my decision on what branch. And I walked into the Navy and listened to him. And I listened to, well, to be honest with you, the Air Force guy wasn't there, but that's just the way it was. He was very busy. You know how they are. They get a lot of people, probably more than we do. And the Army, I listened to them, and then all of a sudden I walked by, and the Marine recruiter was standing. He goes, "It's about time." And and so I went in there, and he said the key word, "What can you do for me?" And that impressed me. And I knew it was harder. I don't know, at the time, Boys and Company C was one of the movies out there. If you ever watched that, you would probably say, "I ain't joining the Marine Corps." Well, that's why I did. I just wanted to do something other than, and I wanted to kind of get out of Texas. I wanted to travel, and boy, did I.
That's pretty exciting to think about how that all worked out. And so you're still doing a lot, though, for the local high school there, too, and sharing other veteran stories on Friday nights at the football games. You're still very involved.
Yeah, I consider it's my hometown. I actually live in Rowlett, but these two communities are so close together. Rockwall has been I moved there in '71 when it was really small. My coach was very influenced, and influenced me a lot, followed me a lot when I was in the service. But football had a lot to help me a lot in the Marine Corps by what they teach you. And that brought along with that. And so I thought I'd give back to my community in many ways. Football, I love football, and I report football on the sideline, and they support me enough to allow me to do that. And they go with our morals, honor, courage, and commitment. I actually give a coin out to people that fit those traits, and a challenge coin. And actually, one of the coaches is at Geyer now has one of my flags, and I sometimes give those away to people that have influenced me and influenced their community. And it's one of the smallest things I think I could do to make somebody realize what they do for their community.
Yeah. So, Jeff, when you were growing up, were you raised both of your parents, grandparents involved as well?
That's a good question. My dad passed away. Well, first, my dad was divorced from my mom, and at the time, and he passed away when he was 39 years old. And I was lucky enough. Yes, my grandparents had a lot of influence in my life, but they didn't raise me. I was raised by many stepfathers, and one of them, his name is Bill Pringle, had a lot of influence on me. And he helped me with a lot of things, because you do personally, I think you need a man in your, whether, I don't care if it's your stepfather or something, you need somebody that you can go ask. My mother supported me more than you can ever imagine, but she was not a man, of course. And but I was lucky. I also had uncles and grandparents, and they're no longer with me, but I learned so much from them, and not even while I was in the Marine Corps. And because there's one time I wanted out, and it was rough times, and I stuck with it. And
the reason I asked that is because across the going on the 4 years now that we've been doing Texas Veterans Outdoors, and as we're sitting around the campfire per se, or even like on a restaurant night out and just talking with people, it is amazing how many veterans had like grandparents in their lives, and hearing the stories and the involvement of the grandparents and both parents in their lives that kind of led them to who they are today. Is there any significant events that really stands out in your mind on stuff that you still have with you today that's based off your morals that you learned from your early childhood from those people?
Yeah, that's a good one there too. I would say being a gentleman. It would be one of the key things. How to be a good person, uh, and think before you do. It's probably a big thing that I learned. My grandfather was very. He was a plumber, and I used to help him. And it's just some of the things they would say or do to be a man. Man up, suck it up. I heard that before I even joined the Marine Corps. So that's, I think that has a lot of, outside of your parents will control a lot of your life, but your grandparents are more open to a lot of things to teach you, taught me how to fish and stuff like that, to where your parents are working, your grandparents may not as much, but they had, I think that's the biggest deal, is getting another opinion. But throughout my life, I was lucky enough to have, I just don't think you see it as much because of both parents working, that you got to have somebody to give you direction. Uh, and you're going to make mistakes. Everybody does, because you're going to learn off of them. It's what you do after you make the mistake is the big thing. Um, and I was very lucky that I have very supportive grandparents and my uncles uh, and my aunts, of course. But I have a variety of great people that helped me along my way.
Now, as you were coming up with those people, did they promote sports? Did they promote like agriculture, outdoors stuff? What was it that really, or if they did, push you, push you towards, or try to guide you towards?
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot about farming. Where they have horses in my family. With a lot of them, my uncle was a country and western singer. I learned about probably a lot, how to deal with. I guess you would call celebrities. I didn't even think. I think I told Rebecca about that, but um, there were some celebrities all around our house or his house, and I just thought of some as people. I didn't. I thought everybody did that, and they always taught us to keep how to keep your I guess honor, but how to keep your self control, control certain situations. And for most of my, I probably talk more now than I ever do, because I was very shy, and the Marine Corps opened me up a lot of ways. Um, but it taught me so much that I still use to this day. And Rebecca can account, both of you can account to what you learn for. You still put it in your everyday. Like they say, I saw this one thing with this Navy. I think it was an admiral. He says you start your day off by a simple task. Complete that simple task, and you'll complete your day better. Like making your bed. Do y'all agree with that? I still
So
make mine. I don't use the corners at 45 anymore, but
but those are really good principles too, though, when you think about messages that you learn from leadership. And some of the things that you hear people still say is especially if they're prior military, the first thing that you can do to make your day productive is get out of bed and make the bed. That is the very first thing you could do. But let me ask you, did you have family or friends that were in the military when you were growing up that were really influential in your decision to enlist?
I did talk to my uncle, and he was all for it. Uh, but there's that thing. My stepfather really didn't talk to. My mom was not for it that much. But my coaches were basically my uh, fathers in a way. Father influences a lot in my life. Uh, there were some times where I almost quit football, and I can't get into what happened in my life. I don't really want to bring that up, but there were some issues when I was growing up. Nothing serious, but uh, more mental than anything else. Uh, and But the coaches really, I relied on them, and they got me straight, and that had a lot to do with me going in the military.
So, with that said, Jeff, on definitely, I don't want to deep dive into it, and respect your privacy on it. Can you kind of tell us about a little bit of the adversity though, like how you got over that? Really, what was it? Was some of those key factors that said, hey, I'm dealing with situation X here. And, did you rely on other people to help you out? Was it something you just kind of figured out on your own? Um, can you kind of go into a little bit of detail on that with us?
Well, the biggest thing is what it was. I had to admit to something was it wasn't my fault, and I had to let them know what was going on because they knew something was not right, and I let them know, and I got great guidance by just them helping me. I mean, being I would say aggressive, but back then, that's where I heard this word "suck it up." Come on, bud, you're a man. You got to be a man about this. And what can we do for you? We're here for you to help you in any way. And talking was probably, and I still say this today, listening. They listened and to me and said the right words.
I think that's really important what you're sharing. And for those who are watching or listening that have someone in their younger years, one of the things that we need to kind of remember is that that is crucial into helping someone make the right choices in any direction that they're going. Um, but listening and providing guidance. I know for me, the suck it up has been something that I've kind of done most of my life anyway. But I think there are times that exactly with what you're saying make a huge difference. And
And can I
so
say these words? Remember these words? It's not in bad words, but embrace the suck.
I haven't heard that one for a long time.
Right. Yeah.
Military, what we're talking about. So,
But I want I want to definitely bring something up though, and this is, we can talk about it now and laugh about it amongst ourselves now that we're old and separated, right?
yeah,
From the military. But you go back and you look at some of these young kids who are in there now carrying the torch or carrying the flag per se, or standing the watch for those
yeah,
of us that have departed now. And there's a film out there on Amazon Prime. It's called Who Killed Lieutenant Van Dorn, and that film actually talks about a good decade of culture of my life while I served in the Navy. And that culture is something that kind of put out there amongst those young kids. And if you do not come into the military having some confidence and already having uh, kind of your wits about you and knowing to stand up and knowing where to call foul on quite a few things, you can get lost in that embrace the suck or suck it up buttercup, mentality. And next thing you know, you're in a culture of hey, you know, suck it up, this is part of it, when really that's not it. That's not a good thing for people's lives, and that's really not a good thing for um, your development and your leadership, and that can really kill you in a professional corporate world on your post-military career. And
hmm
so that's why I say now you and I, uh, and everybody out there who are in their post-military careers now can sit back and laugh and yeah, suck it up, buttercup, embrace the suck, etc. But some of those kids that are out there that are having to suck it up really need to pay attention and really need to open their eyes up and realize, hey, you don't need to be sucking up and you don't need to be embracing the suck on a culture that's bad. And
yeah,
when y'all actually watch that movie, that film, that Who Killed Lieutenant Van Dorn, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They've got some young mechanics in there that we're talking about how the culture of working on MH-53s and as well as CH-53s on the Marine Corps side of the house. the culture was, hey, just do what it takes to get the bird in the air, and which eventually led to quite a few deaths. So just something that, you know, we want to bring out. I know I was in that culture for, like I'm saying, near a decade, right? But I can say this, where the movie contradicts the culture I was in. Anytime that I said something, anytime that I brought some attention out on something that was negative or something that wasn't right and revolving maintenance on those helicopters, I was listened to. But I can see where those young kids don't have the confidence, you know, or can stand on their own 2 feet and call foul, you know, in today's society. So I definitely thanks for bringing that up. I've seen you mention, or, you know, listen to you mention it multiple times now, and embrace the suck, or suck it up, buttercup.
Well, I can go back to that, you know, like I went in the 70s and 80s and up to the 90s, but, you know, even before me, you can go back to when the Marine Corps has been around a long time before the country. And every decade, or whatever you want to call it, has a different culture, a different mindset. There's a key word, mindset. That's where I wanted to talk about sucking it up. You got to have a good mindset. And you always, maybe you have a different one throughout the, you know, like you said, a culture. Everything changes. The time frames of Vietnam, World War II, World War I, and then, you know, you're going to have a different way of training with the weapons that you get. You know, the Marine Corps basically, you know, we're very big on, and so is the Navy, because we're part of the Navy. People some forget about that, but we have a set of rules, morals to go by, and that's where it comes into where you say where you got to zip it up, you know, shut up. But it's opened up more because of what's going on around you. Like when I was in boot camp, we were spit on, hit, whatever. They don't do that today. They don't even cuss at you today. The cameras are everywhere. There's some that, you know, it's just a different way of training, and so they got a different mindset than we did. And we all have to work together. And your mindset's going to be different from mine. It's how you were raised. There, you said that. It's how I think you were raised. You got to give the drill instructor something to work with, especially now, because back then they would almost beat it into you, but they can't do that anymore.
So let's talk about that for a minute, though.
Yeah.
You know, the culture in the military has changed from like when you were in, when I was in, when Joe was in. Our moral compass, though, is so important, because if we know something isn't right, we do need to stand up for that. You were in when they had a lot of hazing going on, and I was in during the transition of that. When I was in boot camp, they started phasing that out, saying there is no longer these things that are allowed in. And you would still kind of see some things, but it started kind of getting tucked away. But let's talk about where you were stationed at. Are you a East Coast Marine or are you a West Coast Marine?
I'm a Hollywood Marine and proud
You're a
of it.
Hollywood Marine. Okay, so you got
proud of it, baby.
For a while.
Yeah, and you know, it's like, you know, you go to Paris Island, you're going to deal with sand fleas. You're going to go to the West Coast, you're going to deal with the mountains, you know, and the heat. So, you know, but you're all still going through rough times. You know, you're all living in a squad bay and together, following rules. And I mean, I laugh when I tell my wife the joke I was stupid. I should have cut my hair, had it down here. And I wore cowboy boots to boot camp. Not a good time. And I went in with two other guys from my hometown. We were called the Rockwall Boys. And it's just like I said, the culture is different. And when I got out, we had to deal with Vietnam. Okay, and even though I don't even think it happened, it did probably happen. You know, I was spit at, called a baby killer, and it had nothing to do with me. Okay, but it was a different thing. When you had hair cut short back in the 70s, what did everybody else have?
Yeah.
Now it's flipped. You have people with long hair, and you got everybody has short hair. So it was we stood out, and they didn't like us. They didn't like us at Lejeune. They didn't like us at Quantico. They didn't, well, not Quantico as much, but Pendleton or San Diego, Oceanside. Were you ever Oceanside? Oceanside's where
I
Pendleton.
lived in Oceanside, but I wasn't stationed there. At one point, I was in the reserves in Pasadena, California. But how many duty stations did you end up having, or did you stay the whole? You obviously didn't stay the whole time at Camp Pendleton.
No, well, first when I graduated boot camp, my MOS was 0811 artillery, field artillery. Probably go. I think it was in there. First, I enlisted in the combat. It was a combat enlistment bonus. It was, my scores. I took this, and I told this when I was a recruiter. When you take that ASVAB test, or if you know somebody's going to take it, really take it. Okay. I took it out of class. I wasn't thinking I was going to the military. And so that can follow you. And I didn't get to retake it. So I had to, I just didn't have, I'm not saying it's bad to be an infantryman or artillery, but I didn't have the scores to do what I wanted to do. And now I think they actually will let you retest because I did later on, and I scored much higher. But the money was there for a bonus, and it fit okay. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, in effect, but so I went. But it worked out for me pretty good. But I had to go to 29 Palms, California, and I was there. I don't know if you've ever been there. And when I was there, we still had the open squad bays, and they were just getting the rooms. So it was difficult. There was nothing to do there. Where Pendleton, where you can go everywhere. You got an ocean, you can go places. Not there. The only place you could go to was Palm Springs, and that's it. It was just pure hell, really, there for any of the young kids. It's better now, but we trained and trained and trained there in the desert, and before we even all these wars come in. But I wanted to get out of there, and I went. I was approached, because I tried to do what I could do to make myself a good Marine. I would actually, I guess you could saw me, they think I was kissing somebody's butt, but I looked at it as a way to improve myself. And I had people helping me. I wore my camis back then, starched and pressed. I did what I did. I tried to be the best Marine I possibly could. I ran the best PFT. I trained all the time when I was drinking. I was running, doing everything I could do to become an embassy guard. And I think I talked to Rebecca back then. You had to be the top 10% of the Marine Corps, and you had to prove it. And I had an officer. He was actually in an enlisted, and then he became an officer. And he helped me out a lot, talking about influences. I was looking for people to influence me, and I found them. They're out there. And they're looking you over too, whether you need help or not. And it got me on embassy duty. And it was the hardest thing I think I've ever had to prove to become something was that.
I think that's a good point, though, that oftentimes we look for a good role model, someone that's going to influence us and lead us in a direction that we want to go. I think that there are a lot of times that we don't see that someone is influencing us in a certain way until they say hindsight is 2020. And I know for me, I had a drill instructor I thought was just so hard on me. And then I ended up getting injured at one point, and that person ensured that I got the right care. When I look back on and we're talking a lot of years, when I look back on what that drill instructor did for me during that time, was I realized so many different things that I didn't see then. And I think oftentimes that we're looking for things and we don't understand things at certain points. But you just made some really profound comments that I hope people will take to heart, not only from way back then, but where we're at now, because we're always growing and always learning and developing. It's when we just stop and kind of close ourselves off that doesn't happen. So how was embassy duty for you once you made it there? Because like you said, I mean, back then there was a whole lot to get promoted. The cutting scores were high and there was only so many spots available, and anything that you wanted to do, you really had to outperform and really shine, because it was kind of brutal in a way. I mean, the cutting score, it sounds so cutthroat, but it was. I mean, you only had so many slots when those promotions came up, or when certain positions that you might come available. You had to really make sure that you were above.
Yeah, I think I told you about the process was very difficult. It took about 3 months, and I had back then they had pros and cons. Uh, uh, that's how we did. I don't know if the Navy did the same thing. It's your performance on how you were, not only physically but mentally, how you treated people, how you were as a Marine for whatever position. I actually was a lance corporal, and back then, there wasn't a lot of sergeants. Uh, I was a section chief of a howitzer, and basically we didn't have the manpower. We're supposed to have 6 to 8 guys on the gun. We had 4, so you did multiple tasks. I learned a lot from doing more, just being a sergeant. I actually was on the gun and doing not only controlling the gun but actually firing and everything, and that taught me a lot. You ever heard the word duct tape? We put stuff together a lot with duct tape. We what you call adapt, overcome, or having to improvise and overcome. Use that a lot. That's what we call duct tape. You're going to duct tape it today. But going about the embassy duty, I had to go through the process, and when I actually got picked, you go through Quantico, Virginia, train up there where the FBI is, and I was training during the 444 days of the embassy being taken over in Iran, and so they changed a lot of ways we did things. We actually after that we controlled the embassy. It was ours, especially if we were getting attacked. You didn't come in or go out without us knowing about it. And I had we'll get back. I had to go through a board, and I told you I had to see a general for the first time I've ever actually talked to one face to face. And then you're allowed to stay. You thinking, hey, I got selected. No, you had to graduate. And then I'll never forget. We got to pick where we wanted to go, and you had 3 choices. And I wanted to go to a hard one, not hostile, but a hard station. So I picked Bulgaria, and I think I did Australia and somewhere else. I don't remember, but they made me stand up and said, "You're going to." Remember, her name was Sophia Loren. Remember her? And that's what they said. And I knew I was going to Sophia, and it was a communist bloc country, so I had to have a little extra training afterwards for security reasons. Because of communist country, and we were only 6 of us there, counting the staff NCO, and we lived in the embassy in Bulgaria. And you talk about a culture shock. Oof, that was a big time, because when we landed at the airport, they held my gear. They already knew it. This Marine comes up to me in a suit and said, "Fill this card out." I couldn't even read it. They wouldn't back then. It even have like name. It was all in Russian, and they were scared of us too, in a way. But so my first duty station, or second duty station, was Sofia, Bulgaria, American Embassy, and I was there from 1980 to 81-ish, because it was only a 12-month tour there because of the duty. They wanted you, and I think I told you I had to have my motors, my wisdom teeth pulled. I had to have an extensive doctor check, physical, to make sure, because if you were sick, you were probably going to be flown to Munich, because they would not let you go to a doctor there. So that's the first time. And
So
Any questions about that, you can.
Jeff, when you guys got selected for special things like that, or going back on like some of the traditions or like the history, and this kind of ties in with, I know when you guys make NCO and you earn your blood stripe, right? When you get selected for special duty, like, hey, the embassy type stuff or like that, is there any kind of traditions or hazing that go along with any of that stuff?
I can't say no. Well, it ain't like it was a college or something. Now it wasn't extensive. You might consider it be, but yeah, we. I don't really remember because so many when we graduated, so many, and we were so busy in groups training. I mean, it was 24/7. They would wake you up at 3 a.m. for a drill. It was just like if you were on embassy. In fact, there was a fake embassy at Quantico. But as far as the Marine security guard, I can't remember if we actually had any of that because it was more, you'd already been in the Marine Corps a while. There was sergeants, staff sergeants, there was all ranks in the school. And you were monitored. I mean, you're talking about drill instructors, but it wasn't like drill instructors, but they were teaching you. They wanted to make sure you knew your job, knew it well. Out of 200 and something in the class, I think only 100 or 75 of us maybe graduated. And it could have been all kinds of issues. Physical, your background could have come back. And especially mine, I had to have like a little kind of above the top secret. Anyways, but I can tell you a story, and I don't know if Rebecca knows about the blood stripe. I don't think they might have done it to the ladies, Marines, women Marine. It could. I'm not saying they didn't. I don't even know.
Was the same.
Yeah, but I since I was in Bulgaria, it was hard to. I was a lance corporal when I got there, so it was hard to get your stuff sewn on. I had to send it off. So I got corporal, and luckily I was able to put that on there myself or someone, but I had to send because I had 2 dress blues. So one of them, I kind of knew I was going to get it. So I already had it there. It was difficult to get do the blood stripe because it's got to be on there differently. You got to go over the pocket. Remember, it's harder to sew that. Well, anyway, so I was walking in this and they asked us what that meant. And a lot of people don't know it's the blood shed through combat and our not us combat individually, but through our wars. It's the bloodshed for those lost, and that's what that stands for. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but all of our uniform is tradition made from our other, the Army, kind of our dress blues are made. But if you go back in the history in the 1700s, you'll look, the uniforms are pretty close to the same color.
Yeah, they are. They are pretty darn.
The blue is because we're air, land, and sea. And we're part of the Navy, of course. But I was walking around, they asked why I don't have the red stripe on my pants, the Bulgarians did. And I was jokingly, and I said, well, you have to kill somebody to get them. And it was joke. Really, I didn't say it kind of like that, but I said, you have to do combat to get that. And they they were already scared of us. And about a month later, I had the blood stripes on.
Oh.
So you can kind of see the looks like.
Yeah.
And they were like looking around, who's missing?
Was that your last duty station, or where was your last duty station? And did you stay at that location? Like, were you in Texas at any duty stations here, even if you were attached to another service? And then did you stay in that area, or did you eventually just kind of come back home? What happened when was the last duty station that you had?
Well, I went from Bulgaria to Austria. I came back to home, leave. And then I went to Okinawa, Japan, and Korea, Guam, Alaska, Hawaii. I traveled on board ship for 8 months, attached to a unit. And then I came back. To answer your question, really, I was never stationed in Texas. The only place I was stationed in stateside besides a base was recruiting duty in Columbia, Missouri. But never here until I got out.
So, okay. So this kind of triggers me. What was it? You were enjoying yourself, you were having fun, throughout serving your country through the Marine Corps and stuff. What was it that triggered going, this is it? I'm going to have to separate from service at this point.
Mainly an injury, probably. I was on a gun, a howitzer, and the trail wasn't set really good, and it caused when I fired it, when we fired it, a portion, something got me in my leg, because I just saw something safety wasn't right, and I jumped, and luckily he'd already moved, but it got me, and I didn't think it hurt me as bad as it did, but so I continued, but you know how it is, suck it up. I just didn't think I didn't think I was injured that much, but I eventually messed my knee up. I rehabbed it quite a bit. I was able to do my job, and then so I thought I was going to re-enlist. I'd like to be an MP, even though my rank was a sergeant. It was going to be difficult, and I went to headquarters. It was approved all the way to headquarters of Marine Corps. And then we knew that Desert Storm was coming. We knew this. We were already bombing fake places in 29 Palms. We went out there and trained from Pendleton, and we knew it was coming. And so since having a combat MOS, I would have had to stay, so they denied it. And then they looked into my knee more, and they gave me a choice to get out on an honorable or a medical, honorable under a medical. And I chose to just take the honorable and got out. That was probably a mistake of mine. I should have took, and if you have an injury, anybody is in there right now, I can tell you to make sure if you've got to get out under medical, because it doesn't mean that you're less of a person. You're still going to be an honorable, and nobody else is going to know that you were medical but you and the VA. Because I could have got help way earlier in my life, but my knee wasn't really that bad, but I did crack my kneecap, and I've had to require 5 knee surgeries since then on my own. But that's why I had to get out. I had to get out.
I think
people
that's really important to share, especially for those who are currently in and watching our show. Definitely make sure to get everything documented, and it is not something to frown upon because you were injured. You served your country, and these injuries are valid. And over time, for those of us who have been out for a while, know that those injuries eventually will catch up to your present day life because you age, and with age, your body just doesn't stay the same. And so those injuries can be magnified, and you do deserve to be taken care of and try to, like for your example with the knee issue, get rehabilitation, go through physical therapy or whatever's necessary to try and get you back as close as you can before that injury happened. There is nothing wrong with doing exactly what Jeff just said. I mean, that is really important for us to mention that. And the other thing is, for those of you who are veterans that are watching and have not made any claims to the VA for the injuries that you've sustained, there is nothing wrong with going and filing your claims and getting the assistance that you need to address the issues that you have now, whether they're physical or mental. Either way, it's really important, and it doesn't take away from your character or your service time or anything else. It's just part of one of the things that we've had to deal with in having made the decision to serve our country. and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that that was a really good point that you made, Joe.
But my thing is the separation. Like he talked about, hey, okay, I'm getting out. This is how. When you separated out, Jeff, did you have a support team? Did you have people that was literally, hey, you know what, we're going to help you transition out, etc. I always like to hear those that have come before me, because you guys that came before me, um, I don't want to say you laid the foundation um, on the transition part, but you definitely helped bring some attention and awareness up, because when I left, they had something that used to be called TAPS or GPS or whatever the program was at the time. And it was 3 days of, hey, here's how to build a resume, and here's some people that can possibly interview you. And then it was basically, hey, you're done. You're on your own, kind of, dump on the street type thing. Uh, did you have anybody transitioning and helping you when you had to separate from service?
Not really, because of the situation. We were about to go to war. I mean, we were really close. I mean, within months of going to Desert Storm. And so I kind of knew in advance that I was going to get out at a certain time. And I had recruiters come out from law enforcement. I'd actually tried to, I put my resume, well, if you don't really have a resume back then, it wasn't like it is today. I don't even think they asked for your resume back then. They said, where'd you work last, basically, and what your background is. That's all I know, because I didn't have one. Here's my DD 214. That was my resume. I didn't work much before I went in. That would have helped me really, because it was so many years ago. But there is a way to do that now. I don't know if y'all do this, but you can go through and get your records and turn it into a college, or look up your some of the stuff that you did in the military can get you college credits. I have 40. I wish I could have used but since embassy duty was top secret, I could not use any of those credits, or they wouldn't approve them. Any trainings you had, I'm talking about, especially if you're technical training, can get you college credits. Now, it ain't going to lead to a degree probably, but it could help you start out if you have nothing. And I learned that later on, because they don't tell you a lot still. You got to ask questions. And the military is just not going to say, here's, you can do this, because it's like embassy duty. They never, somebody told me about it. And they said, when I did they said, you can't do this. And I said, yes, I can. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to do it. And you still had to meet the requirements. It's like with anything. I mean, but I think
when you got out, did you end up going into college then and using your GI Bill, or did you start into work? A lot of us back then, I know, because we're pretty close to the same age, college wasn't something that was really a priority. It was go to work, job, you'll get job skills, life skills, and that's what's going to sustain you. But how did that work for you after you got out? I mean,
well, that's one of my biggest regrets, was when I was especially in 29 Palms, California, they had a little college on the base. I don't think they do anymore, but it was like you could have gone at night and they paid you, I think, 3 to 1 or whatever, if it cost you anything at all. The GI Bill wasn't like it is today, but that was my regret, because I could have probably got a degree in something. But I was young, and I just didn't, we thought we were invincible. I thought I was going to probably stay in as a career. It was my goal. And so when I got out, if I was going to do anything, I was going to do law enforcement, is because of my training and certain in the fields that I was in. I don't know if I told you, I have a pith helmet right there, that I was an instructor. That's one thing I did the last year I was in the Marine Corps, because of my knee. I worked at Edson Range by Pendleton and taught recruits rifle, and sometimes the 45 pistol in 9mm. So that's what I kind of do today. I'm a firearms. I consider myself a master in firearms, because I also do it on film sets. But anyways, getting back to that, when I got out, I went into basic law. That's where I joined the Collin County Sheriff's Department as a detention officer. And that's where I kind of found out I really didn't want to be a police officer. And it's not, it's the physicalities of it. My leg was still kind of messed up. And I'm going to say it was the politics of the sheriff's departments and their little, I don't know, maybe I just was ready to get out. You know, Marine Corps taught you a certain way, 10 hut, left foot. I just wanted to kind of get out of that a little bit. And, but I stayed in the field of security basically most of my life. I did event staff. I was a private person, private guard to some of the football players for Dallas Cowboys. I've done some actors where I would guard them. Just wouldn't say one Tanya Tucker. I did Troy Aikman, Dorset, a couple of those, just private security kind of thing. I did that for many years. I actually helped run a security company. But as far as if I would tell anybody, if you're in, if they offer it and it's there, take the courses. You don't have to get a degree, but I think it just helps you learn a lot of things that you may not, you're not going to get the, I mean, you can go to college. I know guys have gone to college afterwards. But also it can help you become an officer if you wanted to do that. Maybe in another branch. I have a friend.
One thing I definitely want to hit while you're on that subject, Jeff, real quick. One of the most overlooked benefits that's out there for Texas veterans, just look into the Hazelwood Act, and I will leave it at that. You would be surprised on your kids having their college paid for, and you don't even know it. I'm doing my master's right now for engineering and technical management with Texas A&M. And my company's paying a pretty good portion of it, but then the Hazelwood Act comes through and pays the rest of it. So I'm one of the lucky few that's going to end up with 4 degrees that's all been paid for by somebody else. My son.
Too. That's where I got my help. I just went to Collin County just to, at the time, I just wanted to, I think it was when I went there, it was more, I was a computer tech a little bit where you would call me in for problems. And I learned that on there. I went up there and took courses and it was paid for. Texas though, veterans, and a lot of people don't know about the land. You can get help with land in Texas to buy a home as a veteran. I know a friend of mine went through it, bought a home, his first home ever, because he was a veteran. So there's things out there. We're probably, if we have time, I'll tell you some help for other things, especially since we're on this subject. It's called VROC, Veterans Resource Outreach Center here in Rowlett, Texas. It's brand new. It's probably been out maybe 2 years now. They have a setup there for, it's got resources. It's got computers in every room, like from the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the Air Force. And it's got all these rooms set up for the branch that will help veterans with anything. I mean, when you go to the VA, they'll help you a certain point. But if you got to prove that you've got a disability, then they'll help you a lot with that. I had help to get I'm actually 40% disabled. And you just can't go in there and go, hey, they'll look up your records. It could take a long, long time, but they will help you not only with that, but they'll also help you mentally if you have issues. They were helping with a guy this morning. There was a 78-year-old veteran, homeless, and they were helping him, get him help. And there are resources out there, but and I think I talked to you about this morning. We're very prideful in the military. And in law enforcement too, but we're very prideful to admit we have an issue. Do we have a problem? And the first person that you reach out to first is a veteran, a brother or a sister, and they will listen to you. And then once you're done talking, they will hopefully help you, guide you. If they don't know the answer, they'll find it for you. We have to help each other, period. There's nobody else is really going to listen. They will, but they don't understand. That's the key. Now, you may have saw something, and you may have saw something in your career that we could both be in combat together and watch our brother or sister get killed, but we handle it differently by the way we were raised, by maybe what we've already saw. You could have blinked and you didn't see it, but your mindset might have been different, and it can still get worse. I mean, you can hold it in so long, and eventually it's going to come out. It will get weaker in a lot of ways. You'll lose that military strength and mindset that could cause you to want to take your life. And all I can say, before you get there, reach out to one of us. That's all that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
listen
absolutely.
To something we might have said here.
Yeah.
Reach out to somebody and get your help, whether it's mentally, physically, anything. You have a question about your DD 214. Like we've all done different things. Reach out to somebody, and if we don't know it, we'll find you somebody that does. There's a lot
Absolutely.
of your DD 14. You can get it redone. You can add things to it. You can get your medical records. There's ways out there. This place will help you. There's a lot of others probably like that outside of the VA. Now, I'm not saying do not go to the VA, because it could be a life-saving situation for you, and to go there if you need to. But don't hesitate. Don't be prideful.
100%. I totally agree with you. You've mentioned some great stuff with resources out there. Tremendous. We've talked about growing up, your time in the service, a lot of the stuff you've gone through in your life and what it's doing, still the mission that you're on today. The dude on the bridge, Jeffrey Gray. It's what is Jeffrey Gray doing now? Today in present day, what is it that you're doing now?
Well, we talked about this. I don't like to promote myself as much as what who I am, but what I do is my main goal, is my mission. It became my mission out of just the blue. I think there was a time I weighed 407 pounds. My body I just got that way. I can't tell you. I just got lazy. I've had 9 surgeries on my leg. I've had my shoulder operated, my elbow. I've had 4 concussions, 2 broken noses, cracked ribs, you name it. Okay. I had excuses. There's another thing. Don't let them stop you. Excuses. Okay. And I just wanted to give up. I was letting my life just go away. I had an intervention, and I don't mean by like a group of people around me telling me, Jeffrey, you got to get together. My cousin was dying, and I had to use a walker to get around. And I visited him every day I could. And he was basically blind, partially blind. He couldn't really see you. And he went ahead and talked in weeks. And I went to him, I had my head down, and he goes, Jeffrey. And I stood up, and he goes, I'm not going to say a cuss word here, but he said, you're a fat blanky blank. You ain't the Marine I knew. Do me a favor and do something about that. Get back into that Marine. That's all he said. And it didn't happen just that quick. But my mom when she was getting sick, she made me a promise that I'd do something too. And it took funds that I didn't have, but she gave me the funds, and I had the sleeve surgery. And I lost a lot of weight. And in that, I got my pride back. I wanted to do something, and God intervened too. And I just started walking my neighborhood. Then I walked to a park. And then when I started walking the bridge, I needed some water with me. So I had a hydration pack. Then the hydration pack went into my backpack. In the backpack, I started putting a little flag on my backpack. And one day, the flag fell on my house up there. I had it on a pole, and it fell to the ground. And I said, so I was going to walk, and I threw it in the truck. And I said, what the hell? Put it on my shoulder. and I've been doing it ever since. So I had to have a purpose. My purpose was when I found out about the 22 military suicides a day. And it was just a conversation. I went, what? I never knew that. Ever. Never heard of it, period. And I was appalled. I said, if I didn't hear it, who else doesn't know? The world doesn't know. And I started walking and just started Facebook. That's how somebody found me, or the word got around. There was a Marine walking the bridge, and then I was approached by somebody sent a news station out there, and there we go. And I said, it ain't about me. And you probably heard me say this. It's not about me. It's about them. It's always about them. And then it goes to my saying, I can, I will, because I must. Somebody's got to do it, and I can. I'm basically semi-retired or retired. I walk it. I just started walking every day, mainly for me, but now it's above me. It's not just for my community, but it's for, you've heard me say this, it's for my brothers and sisters in arms, past and present, and to bring awareness to the military suicides a day. I say that every time on the bridge. When I do a live feed sometimes, and that's what I say, and that's what I mean, period.
That's awesome, man. You know, Texas Veterans Outdoors, we're all about working with veterans who are looking to get better in their personal lives as well as their professional lives if they choose that route as well. And I'm just glad to have you, Jeff, on our side, being one of the veterans who's willing to, you know, sit down and mentor. And you're very humble and you're very open-minded enough too about me and a mentee as well on things that you're working with and things that you're going through. One of the biggest things I've noticed in our veterans who transition out is some of them have that trouble adjusting to whatever their job is, kind of whether it's a corporate life, whether it's entrepreneurship, or et cetera. And one of the things that I would like to hear from you, if you're willing to talk about it, is, do you feel that maybe the culture that you had in the Marine Corps, did it help, or do you think it kind of hindered on what you were doing when you got out? You know, having to completely change your life. Some people transition pretty easily. What did you find?
Yeah, it's a culture shock for sure. It goes to that word mindset again. It's a total different mindset. You know, I didn't have to worry about a room and board basically. You know, you had to. I got a little shock at that when I was a recruiter. You know, I had to have my own place and I pay my bills, and I never had to do that. I mean, we didn't have bills really, except for, you know, I don't know, back then I was paying for a truck and they took it out of my pay. So, you know, you had 3 meals a day. You had a doctor. Oh, you remember this? I don't know if you know this, but when you made a doctor appointment, you had to show up, right? Do y'all remember that?
You don't miss any of those things.
No, there was another formation for you, and if you missed it, you were in trouble. But anyways, yeah, it was a culture shock, and luckily, in a way, I went right back into a tent hut, left foot kind of culture, when I worked at the sheriff's department. But you had to get to work. I didn't live on my job. I didn't live there, you know, on the base. Most of my time, I never lived off base. In fact, I didn't. I never did until I was a recruiter. But yes, there is a culture shock. But now there's help for that. You can reach out to people and do so, really do so, because, you know, especially these guys now are coming back for combat, and you know, we've been in combat for 19 years. And really more than that, 20 if you consider Desert Storm. So, you know, there's resources out there that wasn't out there available to me, that you can go get help for getting you a job. You may know those more than me, but, you know, Pretty Rock's one of them, but you're going to need somebody to build that resume for you that you don't have, but you could turn a lot of that you learned in the military into a piece of paper. Where you're a civilian going like, what's 0811? You know what I mean? Okay, in artillery, what did you learn, sir? What could it transition to a job? That means you don't qualify to work only on construction. I think you need, that's where, when you know you're going to get out while you're in, to find something in the military. Now, I know you might be a aircraft mechanic, but is there something else that you can start learning on your own for a trade, to transition that trade into? And I've been talking about my nephew. My nephew's in the Marine Corps, by the way, and he does work on planes. And he's probably, he was reserved, now he's active, and he's probably going to make a career. Now, even if you do make a career, are you going to come out? Are you going to think you're going to have to do law enforcement or security? No, you can still train as a nurse or doctor. You can do any of that, and but prepare for it. Get prepared. Have a plan before you get out. Don't just walk out that door. And if you have to do that, find resources. Or you're going to be, you don't want, you might be working at McDonald's, and you don't need to do that. You can find a job, and they can use you for your mindset and your core values, your values. You know, you're going to show up. Rebecca probably knows this. An actor, they love to hire military because we show up. You know, my other thing I say, get up, dress up, and show up every day.
That phrase right there is so important on so many different levels, because it really puts a good mindset to achieving so many different things. And I want to talk to you just for a minute about that, because you've had such really valuable history, and you have so much wisdom now from all the things that you've learned from your childhood, from your service time, what you've done since you have been out. And when you combine all of that, and you are such an example and such an inspiration to so many, tell me what you're doing now and where it's leading you, what you'd like to. We always have to have goals and reach for the stars. That's how we grow. What have you got going now, Jeff?
Well, I mean, you have to, it's like I do the acting thing. And if you're going to do something, do it 110%. Okay. Don't half-ass it, as I can say. If you're going to do anything, and get up every day, make that task, find that little task to do every day, something small, plan in advance, have a calendar, have a purpose. We talked about that. I have a purpose every day, and that's the bridge and what I do at the bridge. Not just my walk, but I do it to bring attention, and that is my mission. But I have some things I do for myself. Find something for yourself too. Don't, have a hobby, something small. I don't care. Do something outside of to make you happy. You still have to be happy in this life. And that's one thing I think we get away from, is being happy, smile. That's one thing I've changed a lot. I think I told him I had to change a lot of my friends, a lot of the way I live my life. I don't drink. I haven't drank in over 20 years. It's just a decision I made. I think I was letting that lead me a little bit in the wrong ways. I'm not saying you have to be religious, but have a purpose, have a belief in not only yourself, but others. And the biggest thing I can say too is make a difference every day. Do something outside, whether you go to a grocery store and you see somebody trying to reach for something they can't offer, don't know, you just reach for it. Offer, may I help you? Always ask, but find something, pick it up, trash. You see something, don't just walk by it. Make a difference. If it's small, just do something out. Make somebody smile. Say, how you doing? Thank you. I try to do that especially during the pandemic, when the grocery store, I'd always say, thank y'all for what you're doing, especially your nurses and your doctors and them guys, truck drivers. Say the word thank you, appreciate you. We hear it, don't we? Thank you for your service. You know what I say? Thank you. Okay. Because they're going out of their way to thank you for that. We just don't, I have to say something. It was, what do y'all say? You hear that all the time. And
Yeah. For me, I know it's, just wearing this shirt alone, the one I got on today, one of the many shirts I got for Texas Veterans Outdoors. I These things for me have been such a welcoming conversational point. I've had people come up to me just because they see the shirt. Hey, thank you for your service and so forth. So what I say is, you know what? Thank you for the acknowledgement. That is so much appreciated. Just being acknowledged and being respected by you enough to where you can come up to me and say that right there alone speaks volumes, at least for me, because this new generation was not taught about the importance of veterans. They weren't taught about the true role that a veteran has in their life, and these are the people that I'm talking about right now, not only the teenage kids, but also some of these younger folks that are in that 20 to 25 range right now, age range. They have no clue, at least the majority of them that I've dealt with have no clue
well,
why veterans are even important.
when I first got out, I got in '90, and so I didn't have a sticker on my truck. I didn't wear a cap because when you couldn't buy them like you can today. I didn't have a T-shirt. I didn't have nothing. So I didn't say I was a Marine, except for the people in my group that knew me. And it wasn't that I wasn't proud of it. It just wasn't. And then when we came combat, when we went to war, I did it mainly for them. I wanted to show that I supported my veterans, and I was a veteran, and I support them in what they're doing always. And it just, now we can buy the shirts almost anywhere, a cap or whatever that says a veteran. And so that's why I do it. And it's changed now. You just didn't say that back then very much. And I want the Vietnam veterans that are also the worst forgotten. And that's where a lot of the suicides are coming from right now, was World War II and Korea and Vietnam. And now we're starting to see it in our Afghanistan and Iraq, Iran, or whatever you want to call it. All the wars we're in, even the skirmishes that we've gone to in other countries, that combat, the experience is, and when they get out, it's going to be difficult. You were talking about transition. There is the biggest transition is what we call is not PTSD anymore. It's PTSI, post-traumatic stress incident. You can get those almost if you see your mom die, if you see somebody die in a car accident, you're going through almost one of those a day, really. And something can trigger you that you see on television. And I can go back and about, I don't know if y'all follow me on Facebook, I don't as much. I had an incident in October. Or when did not October, when did the basketball player pass away? Kobe. Well, y'all remember when that was? Well, anyways,
I thought it was short January time frame. Maybe yeah. Me and time frames are no. Me and time frames.
I had an incident in the Marine Corps. I was in Korea, and a helicopter went down and killed all the guys on it. They hit a mountain, and we had to go back out there on a helicopter to pick them up. And we just didn't volunteer back then. We just went, and I knew some of them. And to see, I'm not going to get in detail, but to see what I saw and the smell and everything, and to know that you'd see some of the guys that was pretty rough. And we had to go we did some counseling, and just kind of stuck with some of us, handled it internally and didn't talk about it. And then I saw another one. Well, then another buddy of mine was killed. A CH-53 was taken off in Lejeune, and it was pretty new, and it was picking up a howitzer, and it blew up and killed all of them. So when Kobe died, they showed a clip. It wasn't his, and it triggered me. I saw this helicopter go down, and to see that, Talking about it now don't bother me. For some reason, it just triggered the crap out of me. And I had this, I could not stop this feeling. I've had them before, but I could not. My mind was I was thinking, what's going on? Why are you doing this? And my body was reacting differently, y'all. It was just shaking. My wife tried to hug me, and I couldn't. So I can't handle this. I didn't. The suicide part didn't come up, but I just was freaking out. And I went to the ER, and this is the pandemic is going on, y'all, and they were suited up and everything. I was sitting there going like, oh, what is going on? And the nurse came in, she's calming me down, and she goes, stand up. You know what she did? And doing all that, she hugged me, and I hugged her back. And the doctor came in, and he didn't say nothing. He gave me something to calm me down, but that calmed me down. Just the touch. Remember, we couldn't touch nobody. The hug, the greeting. But she was going through the same thing I was. She was seeing stuff she'd never seen before. People dying of the virus. And she helped me. I think we helped each other that day. And I learned a lot just from that. And I never had one since. I don't know what happened, what triggered me, but I can watch it again and I won't get the same. It won't happen. But that happened. So if you get triggered, and I actually had to do this with somebody. I'm not going to say why, but he was triggered. And this is before I knew. You get their attention. You make them smell something. Make them touch something around you. I mean, in this sense, I made him touch a tree. I made him laugh. Get him out of that area, the zone they're in. Because you will maybe, if they're not blinking, you got a problem. Get them help. But if you're feeling that way, do those things. Look up anxiety attack, panic attack. Touch something, smell something. Look at something make you laugh. Just get it, ground. The word grounding. You got to be grounded quickly. Or reach out and call somebody and tell them that you're having an issue. Do not hesitate to admit you're having a problem. And because I tried to fight it, I was sitting there going, what is going on? I never felt that way. I felt like somebody poured cold water and hot water on me at the same time. I don't know if both of y'all have ever experienced that before, but if you do, that's what you do, and it will help you. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Relax, calm yourself down, because you can calm yourself down. And if you can't, go get help, call somebody. Don't get in. That's where the weapons are. I had weapons here. They don't do anything unless I make them do something. And you saw me in that film. Don't get there. A dog saved, and that was a true story. It was a cat. In this film I did, I Can, I Will, I Must. I'm bringing this up because in the film, I was about to kill myself from something the character dealt with. And I had a gun to my head, about to pull the trigger, and the dog barked, got my attention, and that dog saved my life. Later on in the film, I'm walking with my dog. I meet a guy that I met in combat, and he was about to take his life. I saw his look, and I stopped him, which the dog really did too, because he was in there with me. But I saved him. And in the film, I showed 22 people. They all had a number, 22 people. So you could actually see what 22 faces a day look like. 22 kill themselves a day in the military. And if you see all three of us as one of them, then it puts a face to that number. And it's very, very, it was very moving to see that. And I had a thought, and I think it's very difficult to even think about that for me, and because we're just not doing enough. We got this show. We can save, I said that's 1 for 1, mine for them. If whatever I can do, whatever I say, saves one of this show, it's worth every effort you guys do And I want to thank y'all for doing this show because it needs to be done.
Well, thank you. You know, that just thank you for that again, that acknowledgement. But you know, thank you for being a community leader, somebody who stepped up in their community. And you didn't do this here recently. I mean, you've done this 6 something years ago when you started walking that bridge, and you've been doing it all this time, day in and day out, regardless of the weather. You go out there bundled up, strapped up, ready to go, and you do this, and you're doing it for you, and you're doing it for every single person out there trying to change their lives. You know, thank you. Jeff, in my eyes, that's success right there. It's service to somebody else that you don't even know, but you are making a successful impact not only in your local community, but obviously if you've got news crews and people showing up and you're all over social media, you're reaching way more than just Rockwell, excuse me. You're way out there on a global platform. You know, you're in the film that you just mentioned earlier. That's on Amazon Prime, global. Anyone can pull that off. And what I like about that is even our troops that are overseas serving, they can pull that up while they're over there, watch, and actually be able to touch base with somebody that's back home here. But on just the subject alone, it makes them aware. And if they can take what you're doing and spread it and help somebody over there, that's amazing, man. Amazing. But thank you for coming on today.
Well, I told Rebecca I'm not alone. And you guys are doing the same thing. You're carrying that flag. Thank y'all for y'all, by the way. Semper Fi Marine down on the bottom there. And thank you for your ride. Thank you for the ride. The Navy guy, I always say thank you for the ride.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing and for taking some time out today.
And by the way, you two were in the film. I've got your 6. And we're going to give a plug, right? Bill Foster made this film with all veteran cast. And he was very adamant about that. I was seeing the different, this way and back of my head, because everybody, even the extras, had to be a veteran. And it's going to be coming out. I don't know his platform yet, probably Amazon Prime, but it's won a lot of awards, and we're about to go to the premiere on the 16th. And I haven't seen it. Rebecca hasn't seen it, and you have, though, you lucky guy. But that's okay. Yeah. I'm glad I waited. I really wanted to wait until the premiere to see this, but hopefully, when it does come out, they'll plug it again, and you should watch this. It's about us. Oh, by the way, here it is right there. Can y'all see that? I don't know if it's this way or whatever. It says, "I've got your 6," with this little semicolon, means your story is not over. God hasn't finished your paragraph, sentence, or your story. So stick around for it. He's got more for you. And then this one, never quit. That was the first tattoo I've ever had. And it helps me never, ever quit. Because what? So my other leg, I will, because I must. Semper Fi.
Amazing. Thank you, Jeff. Definitely appreciate it. And I can't say, just words can't describe how glad I am to bring you on board with Texas Veterans Outdoors and being a voice in your community. I mean, that's amazing. You've done already quite a lot, and I'm here to support you. The staff of Texas Veterans Outdoors is here to support you any way that we can on future stuff that's going on. Rebecca came on board this year as a community leader down in the Belton area, so she's taken up stake in our central region down there, and I just can't ask enough of those veterans out there, and even people who are supportive of veterans. If you want to get involved making a difference, come on board with us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help people grow personally, and we're here to help them grow professionally if they would like to. But thank you, everybody. And Jeff, I would like for you to close it out, being our guest here, with give us some of the people who really that you see making a difference that outside of our organization. I know you discussed earlier this morning with me on a pre-call, the 99% group, the Mad Radio. Feel free, use this time frame, open that up. Let's let others know. Texas Veterans Outdoors, just because you're not part of our organization doesn't mean that we're not going to collaborate with you. Doesn't mean that, hey, we're not going to support you. Now, if you're a veteran in Texas and you're doing something positive, then you've got a home with us.
Now, I want to mention these two guys approached me, and it became its own little organization or nonprofit. It's called #WalkTheBridge, and I started walking. You mentioned this, when they would do this on the 22nd every month. Sometimes I don't show up because I didn't want it to be the leader. It's not me, okay? It's them, the group. I go when I can because they do it at a certain time. So always I'm not available on the 22nd, but they're getting bigger. That group, John Salerno and Brian Wilburn, put this, within a year, they got the right people. I believe you always have to be in the right place at the right time, and you need more people sometimes to help you get there. And it just worked out that they called it Heroes Memorial Bridge between Rockwall and Rowlett, Texas on Highway 66. So they run 2 radio shows on Facebook platform. One of them's called the 99% Network, and they're Leos and former military that have a motorcycle club. And so if you're into that, they have great topics about everything from suicide, and that's everything. They have people on the show, and I would like for them maybe one day to have you on your show. I'll try to see if I could talk to them about that, especially on the Mad Radio, and talk about your organization, and get it out there. So I told them I was going to talk to them about that. And the other one's MAD, M-A-D, and it's called Make a Difference. And I've been on that show, and that's what they talk about, people that are making a difference in their community, and it's gone worldwide followers. He goes, John Salerno really does it, and a lady named Samantha Horowitz. She was actually, John and Samantha were at 9/11. Samantha was in one of the towers and got out of there. She was actually Secret Service agent, and John is a fireman and a police officer during that day, and they both have problems. Sam's got she's a I don't know if it fits in the veterans, but Samantha, she's got a book out about that, and I would plug about her. I know I'm just saying that she was there, and they're helping, they're making a difference. So I'll check into their radio station, especially veterans who may have questions. You could call them. That show has actually saved somebody from committing suicide, and that's what this is all about, is to get help to veterans in need. And they may actually have somebody that they know that's watching this that has that veteran, and maybe they want to talk to you, but they'll talk to one of us or a veteran. And that's why I say again, reach out to your brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. So, Jeff, thanks for being here, buddy. And if any of you watching the show today have resources, throw it right there in the comments. This show is straight up intended to highlight somebody who's been successful in their life, share their story in hopes that we can inspire and help at least one veteran. And the only way that this can even be successful is for everybody to be involved. That's those watching, that's those partaking in the show, whether you're behind the scenes on the production crew, whether you're, in front of the camera, such as Jeff is today. It's going to take all of us to actually make a difference and be a part of this being success once again. There's so many resources out there that we don't know. There's so many organizations out there that are actually doing something good that we don't hear about. So please feel free to drop something in the comments, share this with other veterans, and let's really, really spread this and help make an impact. So thanks everybody for watching. And Rebecca, I'm going to kick it over to you. I'm good today. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody that has tuned in for taking time out of their day to listen to Jeff's story and share in all of the insight that he has. Hopefully that this will make an impact on you, and you will share this with your friends, your family, everybody that you know. And I want to thank you, Jeff, for being here today and everything that you're doing. You're quite an inspiration and definitely someone to emulate. So thank you very much.
And thank y'all for having me. I enjoyed it very much to get our word out there.
Brothers and my sisters, only they can understand.